So I live in Arizona, and if you watch the news, or I'm sure you've seen an article about it, there was just a man that was being investigated by DCS who televised him trying to kill the caseworker, his case investigator, in the DCS office. Now, this isn't about that. So I don't condone that violence or what happened, what have you. We don't know the situation. So really, all it did was spark something in me because I've had a taste of like that whole scene. Like, I know more than I want to know about it. And, you know, we need to be careful as citizens. We are headed straight for a civil uproar uh, over families, over our children, because we have lost control of our children. The state kind of controls all of us, if you think about it, because if you step out of line and your partner reports you to any agency, it's going to be a shitstorm, whether you have it coming or not, whether you deserve it or not. You're still going to have to go through all this crap. And vindictive, spiteful people know that. They understand that, and they're using it. They're using it flagrantly to get what they want. It's usually involved around money. I've seen family court cases where it's literally just a child support order. The dad was not given any time with the kids, didn't ask for any time with the kids. Just like, this is just, it's very confusing. A lot of people don't understand because, thankfully for them, they don't have to deal with the situation. In the 1800s, this happened a lot. The state came in, broke up families, took kids, put them into labor before child labor laws were created. And then all the orphanages shut down because there was no more incentive. There was not a fiat coming from these children and the pain that they experienced. And I would say it took a little while for this country to get back on its feet after that whole epidemic of using children. Just using children. They're using children. They're doing it again. While we have child labor laws, we also have adoption agencies. We have multiple companies contracted with the family courts and DCS that's the sole purpose of the business, is to do quote unquote social work with these struggling families, broken families. And if you weren't broken before these agencies come into your life, you will be broken when they leave. Irreparable damage is done to a lot of men. You can see how the trends change in the courts from, favoring the mothers to favoring the fathers to favoring 50-50, even when really that's not appropriate either. Like, there is no way to successfully run somebody else's family. Like, it starts with the man, and then the woman, and then the children. And if you have children with a man who can't provide, that's your problem. If a man has children with a woman who doesn't want a woman, that's his problem. And I would say the trend is, it's a lot more likely a woman's going to go to court to try to get what she wants out of a man than roles reversed. But as the courts had started swinging towards fathers' rights because of the backlash of them favoring mothers for so long, it's become okay for men to do the same thing. make false reports, take a truth and make it into a death sentence, basically. So, like, yeah, nobody's perfect, but if you're going through a hard time and you're having a personal issue that may affect your parenting, it's going to get so much worse before it gets better if you bring in all these agencies, put somebody on blast. Like, their whole approach is inhumane. It's inhumane. Um, you might just be a single mom trying to get some help because of, the situation you're in. You might lose control of your family trying to gain it in family court. That's quite a possibility. Sorry, I forgot what I was talking about too. Oh wait, okay, so I think I was talking about televised court cases. Um, Everything always on the news about terrible parents doing terrible things to their kids, kids doing terrible things to other kids, like all these things that are always thrown in our face. They're desensitizing us. And the concept of getting your kids taken from you is also desensitizing us, because then people think that they have the right to judge whether judge somebody else's situation. Okay. um, I think a good example of this would be Amber Alerts. Okay, I can never look at them the same after I realized that a lot of times when Amber Alerts are issued, it's not just parents that are trying to steal their children back. It's children running away from foster homes. And it makes me so sad. These are all consequences of not being able to deal with your own issues and trying to use a system that is set up to use you to get where you want, or to get what you want. Oh, like, I'm gonna screw you over, you want to leave me for another woman, I'm gonna get all your money. And especially if you're not married, how do you get all of a man's money? If you have kids with them, well, that's easy, you go to family court. So disappointing, ladies. So disappointing. While you're waiting on a check that probably won't come, just so you know, if it does come, the state's going to take their cut first before you even see that money. They touch it first. And do you have any idea how rich people get off of your pain? Uh, you're just a profiteer's puppet when you do this. There are certain circumstances where it is appropriate to take something to family court. I haven't seen it, but it does exist. I know that's why those systems were set up in the first place, is for extenuating circumstances. Um, but for the most part, if if your man is that crazy, why did you get with him? That seems like a personal problem. If you have to get two jobs to raise your children because you chose to be with somebody who really didn't have anything to offer, why is that everybody else's problem? That's your problem. You did that. You made that decision. Get to work. Don't wait for a man to hand it to you. He gave you his sperm made children. Honor those children by not tearing apart their father. These things should be obvious, maybe just to the lower class, because it's an everyday reality. When I was growing up, I know a couple times people had called DCS on my mom. It was out of concern. It was actually out of concern. It was not to be, vindictive. But I can think of one time that my grandma called my mom white trash, and reported her to DCS, and nothing came of it, but it was completely vindictive. And why is it always families doing this to each other? It's because the option is there. And a lot of people don't want to just face shit head on and be upfront about things. So If there's a way to backhandedly handle a situation and manipulate it, they're going to do that. But you're not the only one. These people are getting filthy rich off of your issues. It's a pain for profit system. I don't want to talk too much more about family court. I think I mentioned everything. Yeah, you're trying to put that man, you're trying to put that man into slavery by getting a child support order. My children's father has a wife. We have had a lot of issues, but now for the past year, it's been pretty good. I can tell you that if something, like in the past, if I asked him for money and I was on drugs, he would be like, get bent. But, now that I'm doing good, if I needed money, I needed help with something, I wouldn't go to the court to ask for it and get it forced from him. I wouldn't have to force him. Him and his wife would help me out. And, I would say that's because there's no court order for child support between us. I have never believed in that. That would, if I was a man, that would make me not want to give you anything at all. Especially since you picked him out and you guys broke up. So, like, why make it so hard? And were you with that man for a meal ticket to begin with? Because you're still trying to get that meal ticket. There's more incentives to have children for taxes and whatever and be single than there is to have children and be with somebody. It's kind of ridiculous. I see it all the time, and I would say it's not so much that I see it in middle class, but it has reached up to lower middle class, this epidemic of family court. And also, if you want to talk about being spiteful and making phone calls when you're mad, DCS, how often do people do that? And people who don't even understand how that agency works. All the agencies connected to them, all these people get filthy rich, and there's lots of missing children between them. There's bonuses that investigators make that work for Department of Child Safety. There's bonuses they make for separating a family. Why? Why is there incentive attached to tearing families apart? And why are we eating it up like candy? Why? Because the fallout is Gen Z and Gen Alpha, my children. It's a traumatized generation. The one that comes behind us, millennials. Why? Because of our great parenting? Or is it because we have allowed the state to run our families, to choose how we value family dynamics? These are very serious things I'm talking about. It's a failed family dynamic, and it's a sign of a failed society. An over-sexualized and desperate society that gives incentive for the lower class to have children they can't raise. People, I would argue, they don't care about. It's kind of like a DCS investigator. You'll meet one. They might be in their 20s. They might not have any kids. They might have never, ever lived in a trailer. They might know absolutely nothing about your life. And you could be a genuine, decent parent. And they could deem you unworthy just because of the quality of your life is so drastically different than theirs. They have the power to do that. They do it all the time. Stop inviting the state into your life to deal with your bad decisions. Because look what it's doing to the generations that fall behind us.